From the misty Pacific coast to the rugged Cascade Mountains and beyond to the high desert in the east, you are listening to the Oregon First Hunting and Fishing Podcast.
Today we are talking about outdoor fitness. So if you love hunting and fishing, you're going to love this podcast, especially if you've ever wanted to get way out into the mountains. We're sitting here in our Salem studio, which is actually my office because our studio is under construction. And we're joined remotely with our guest, Kurt Belding, joining us from his office in Colorado. Kurt, thanks for joining us, man.
Absolutely, boys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm your host, Bryant. I'm joined today with my co-host, Gage.
Hello.
And in this episode, we're going to talk about the infamous bill to end all hunting and fishing in Oregon. We're going to talk about hunting fitness, and we're going to have a conversation with our guest, Kurt Belding. So, Kurt, let me know if I got this right. You began your career as an entrepreneur in the fitness world, where you owned gyms and even your own brand of supplements. And then eventually, you got into filming your hunts, and you traded your old life for what you do now, which is running the hunting show, Western Obsessions TV. Did I get that right?
Yeah, man, you're pretty much spot on from a 10,000-foot view for sure. Yeah.
Sweet. Anything else you'd like to say to introduce yourself to our guests?
I've always hunted. Grew up hunting as a boy with my family, my dad and my mom. So it's not like I was just a fitness guy and decided to pick up a bow or a rifle one day. I've always did it and always loved it. I got to a point where I hit 40 and I was like, man, it might be that midlife crisis thing. I don't call it a crisis. I call it an adjustment because crisis seems pretty
That's a good
extreme,
way to look at
right?
it.
But I'm like, man, God, all I want to do is just go hunting.
Yeah.
So I traded in I owned a lot of businesses at the time. So I traded in a lot of entrepreneurial stuff. And sometimes I'm like, I don't like saying I owned a lot of business and I was this big entrepreneur because it makes it sound like I have a lot of money. I don't. Just because I owned a lot of business doesn't mean I was making a lot of money. It just had a lot of stress, right? So
Sure,
I ended up selling anything I could sell to get any kind of money, closing most stuff down and just wanted to go on cool hunting trips. So that's what I've been doing. And I ran out of money really fast. Expensive. And now I'm just figuring it out, man. So I've been doing it for almost 6 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great.
Man. So 6 years and hopefully 6 more and then some, right?
Yeah. Well, shoot, that's one of my goals we're talking a little bit about fitness on this is I want to do that archery elk backpacking hunt when I'm 80 years old. That's kind of my goal.
Awesome.
So I need to stay fit and healthy and take care of myself to be able to do that,
Yeah. That's super cool.
There's this man who's local to our area in Salem, and I haven't actually met him in person, but he interacts with me on Facebook, funny enough. And he's up there. I think he's over 80, and this year he just retired his bow. He killed his last buck with I believe it was a trad bow, and it was a pretty sweet 3x3 blacktail. And he said that he liked how it looked better standing up than laying down dead. So he's done. He's checking
Hung it up.
Oh.
Yep, and he's up. If he's not 80, he's close to 80. He said his age when he was talking about it, but it was kind of like a big grand moment. His name's Carl. He's lived his life. He's hunted his entire life, bow hunted like a madman, and he reached the end, and he decided that he's done. Yeah. So it's and the cool thing about that is he didn't make it sound like it was for physical reasons. Really, it was just he feels like he's done it all.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird to think about, isn't it? Coming to that place.
What is that? A guy like that is a guy I look up to. He's figured out how to do it into an old age. And I have heard that a lot from older guys that they get to a point where they don't want to kill anymore. And they'd rather either help their family members go on a hunt or they just don't want to pull the trigger. I'm not there yet. I still enjoy pulling the trigger, but I can understand, the concept that they're talking about. I can understand that.
Yeah. So it's a cool thing. Well, that sets up our conversation good. I'm excited to talk with you about all that. Before we continue on, I just want to remind the listener to make sure to follow us on Instagram. We aren't just a podcast. We're also a club, and we get together and we do fun stuff for anyone who's near enough or wants to make the drive to come hang out with us. The next thing we have coming up is on May 30th. We got a bass fishing trip, and we've got some leads on some private water. So it could be a good time if you wanna meet us, come fish with us. It's completely free, and we've got a Little Dave Baits sponsoring us this year, gonna provide us some good bass fishing bait too. And so it's just gonna be a good time. Hope you can make it out, but you got to join our club at Oregon First Hunting and Fishing Club on Facebook in order to learn more about that. And then also, if you like what we do on this podcast and you want to support it, one of the best things and the easiest things you can do is just leave a review wherever you're listening right now. Give us whatever you think we deserve. I'll take it on the chin. I don't care. But we just, the more reviews you give, then the more people get to hear the podcast. But Gage, you want to take Kurt into the icebreakers?
Yes. So we got 5 questions here. So just a few icebreaker questions to kind of to see where you're at on a few different hunting topics. First question is fishing or hunting? Which one do you prefer?
It's a good question, man. Growing up, my 8-year-old self would have said fishing all day long. I loved fishing when I was little, man. Like, any Christmas money that I would get would be spent on lures. And I grew up in Midwest Nebraska, so I love that farm pond, big bass kind of thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. But as I got older, big game hunting has definitely taken the priority, I think.
Yep.
Yep.
Man, it's so funny you say that because my son is 5, and he's a pretty physically advanced 5-year-old. He's always been taller than all the other kids, and he can do a lot more stuff than your average 5-year-old. But recently I got him a tackle box, and he has been obsessed with that thing. He in fact, we went to Walmart the other day, and he drugged me over to the fishing section and used his own money from his piggy bank to buy himself some bass lures at 5 years old, and he pulls it out every day and organizes his tackle. And, I got to take him down to the river last night to practice some casting. And it's funny watching him because he hasn't got the coordination on his Zebco of when to press the button on the swing. So he swings the rod, and then he presses the button, and the lure falls straight in the water. but he'll get there. But anyway, it's funny because, and also for me, I grew up fishing. I would ride my bike down to the local river and fish pretty much every day. I'd skip class all the time to go fish in high school. Don't recommend that really, but it worked out good for me. I caught the biggest bass of my life when I was skipping class. Anyway, when I was old enough to take myself hunting, because I always wanted to, but no one in my family did, I started, got my driver's license and started going up to the woods. And then once I figured out there was hunting regulations to follow, I bought tags and licenses. And ever since then, I've just been obsessed with it. But that's not to say that people who love fishing more than hunting are immature, right, Kurt? We're just,
no, ain't nothing wrong with that at all. And I still love fishing. There's just something that's in my blood about and I think what the difference is for me is I love being as remote as absolutely possible, trying to be in a place that maybe no human has been in 100 years. That's my ultimate vacation. Yeah. And you just can't get that fishing. Yeah. That's just not part of the fishing thing. So
absolutely, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I do have to say, we've had some really awesome opportunities to go out on some fishing excursions, and we were floating down kind of a local river to us, the Sandy River. And man, did that feel remote. And I know Portland was just 15 miles away, but man, you feel really out there when you're in the middle of the water, floating down on these big rock faces on either side.
Carl Llewellyn, we had on the podcast a few episodes ago. He works for Rec Pack, which is like a meal replacement thing. It's kind of like a protein shake in a bag. But anyway, he tells me that he has turned fishing into an endurance sport, and he grabs his trout gear and he hikes way up into the Cascades, up these tiny creeks, and he makes himself suffer fishing. So there's a way to do it, I guess. But for the most part, when you're suffering, you're hunting, right? For the most part. Until your hands are frozen. All right, Gage, what's the next icebreaker?
We'll continue here. Bow or rifle?
Ooh, that's a tough one for me. I always lean towards a bow. I just gravitate to it because it's just so much fun. Yeah. And I love shooting my bow. I've got a little bit of an acreage where I live, so I'll go out and shoot my bow on a regular basis, and I just have so much fun. But when I am, and I've said this on this last episode I'm actually putting together right now, is when I'm 140 yards away from a monster elk and I can't get any closer,
Oh
I'd
man.
rather have my gun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the struggle, and I think that's that's the challenge bow hunters look for, and also that experience that they look for to getting close. But man, is it frustrating.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
I noticed. I watched your your Mexico turkey hunting videos recently on the
Oh, yeah.
Western Obsessions YouTube channel, and I saw that you were mostly hunting with the shotgun, but you brought a bow. You were carrying a bow with
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Did you ever fling any arrows or just stick with the shotgun?
Was this the one in the Yucatan or the one in, was it, what turkey was I hunting?
I thought that you had the bow with both, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
Did. I am notorious for like, oh, I want to use a bow. It'd be so much fun with a bow.
Yeah.
But have that shotgun nearby just in case. And whenever there's a gun nearby, I just end up dropping the bow and grabbing the gun. Like,
Yeah.
so like if you ever go bow hunting and you're like, man, I really want to do it with the bow. Don't have a gun anywhere
Yeah.
near
Yeah.
it because it's too tempting to do. So the one in the Yucatan, I shot a brocket deer with my bow, and I shot a couple other things like a Cudamunde and
Okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
and another bird. I can't remember what it was called, but I shot my oscillated turkey with a shotgun.
Yeah.
And then the one in Chihuahua, when I'm hunting the man, my brain is coming to blank. I got the turkey right behind me.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Google's turkey. I was bow hunting, and the last day I grabbed a shotgun. See, like,
Okay.
it's just, yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool hunt. People should check that out on YouTube. But I did the same kind of thing this year, where except I didn't fill my turkey tag. Where I was like, I'm gonna shoot it with my bow. I brought my bow on so many hunts, I was real stupid. I passed up a Jake, and I should have just taken it because it would have been my first bow turkey, you know. And there's nothing wrong with shooting a Jake for your first bow turkey, right? Or am I trying to talk myself into it? But
No,
yeah. But either way, I let this Jake walk past my blind at like 5 yards away, and then that was my chance. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah, keep her moving. Deer or elk?
Well, what kind of deer?
You know, for us, it's always either blacktail or mule deer. You know, really blacktail, but most of our guests will bring up mule deer for this question. So let's keep it Western.
Keep it Western. Oh man, I love them both. But if I had to choose one to like hunt the rest of my life, it's going to be elk.
Yeah.
You can't beat archery elk hunting when they're bugling in your face, and like you just can't beat that, man. Mule deer don't bugle, so they're super cool. I love them.
What's that weird deer? Sika deer or something? And they make like this weird call.
Is it the guttural? Like
they're weird.
Something like that.
I don't know exactly where they are, but somewhere you can hunt those, and they make noises. But yeah, not mule deer.
Axis deer make some cool noises too. I hunted some axis deer in Hawaii. They make some cool noises too.
Axis deer. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
good to know.
Okay, next question. I've never tried either of these meats, but I'd be curious to know what your favorite is: bear meat or moose meat
for eating.
For eating, yes.
I have not tried moose meat because I have not killed a moose yet, but I will tell you guys that you're the first ones outside of my little circle that know this. I just drew an Alaska moose tag.
Oh, sweet. All right. Yeah. Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
I was so pumped about it. So I'll be going in September. But so to answer your question, bear for sure. Yeah. Because I haven't eaten moose, but you know, I'll tell you what, man. You wouldn't think this, but bear is really, really good meat.
Yeah.
It's a little bit fattier, right, than like an elk or a deer, but the fat actually is very flavorful, and I really like it. It's really good.
Yeah.
Have you had the chance to try a couple different bears? Because I know depending, like, you know, you got your berry bears or your salmon eating bears or whatever. Do you know? Have you ever tasted a difference between the two?
I have, and you definitely want to eat a berry bear.
Yeah. See, because I've only eaten, because here in Oregon, you know, we've got our black bear seasons. We got spring and fall. I've only eaten fall black bear. I've never eaten a spring black bear. And in the fall, they're eating berries. You know, they're hammering berries, and so they're berry bears. I've never had a spring bear though. So I wonder. Anyway, we'll have to draw one of those tags someday. And
Ryan, what's your thought on the berry bear? Do you like bear meat?
yeah. I mean, I only had it as a roast, and I mean, I guess I had bear sausage before, but anything's good in sausage form.
Right.
A lot of people just make even like breakfast sausage out of their bears, and it's great. That's a great way to do it, especially because if you go buy sausage at the store these days, man, you're an arm and a leg. But
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
so bear's great for sausage, great for that kind of thing. But also, I've just had it as a roast. I haven't had like steaks or anything, and I mean, I'm not a picky guy when it comes to meat. It was not gamey at all, you know. So that's my review of a berry bear.
Berry bears.
Yep.
Okay, last question. When you're out on a big long hunt, do you prefer cold and wet or hot and dry climate?
Because you know, especially like September seasons, depending on where you are, it could be either one.
That's a good question. I've had them both. I've had cold and wet, and I've had hot and dry. I'm going to say probably hot and dry because, man, there's just something miserable about being cold and wet for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Like when you're cold and wet for days and that sun breaks and you feel that warmth of the sun, I don't think there's a better feeling in the world.
Oh,
Yeah.
man,
But I don't like that misery of being cold and wet.
Yeah.
I think you burn more calories that way too when you're cold and
sure.
Or even
shivering.
just sitting there shivering, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm starving after
Uh-huh.
which is most of our blacktail hunts were cold and wet,
Yes.
and I'm, need
Yeah.
those calories.
Yeah. Have you ever had an experience when it's hot and dry of having a hard time finding fresh water?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, often when it's hot and dry. And at that point, I just kind of take whatever water I can get. And sometimes it's not moving water. It could be some stagnant stuff that tastes terrible. But as long as you filter it well, like you're probably not going to get sick, but you need the water, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
What kind of mixed emotions do you have that, you know, you're getting your moose tag, but you're not hunting September elk anymore, right? Or are you doing both somehow?
Man, it is mixed emotions. So I feel like if I did both, I might get a divorce. So
Yeah. That's, oh man, I feel you there.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm very excited to draw a trophy moose tag. That doesn't guarantee you're going to kill anything. But in Alaska, I love Alaska. But my favorite time of the year is September hunting elk with a bow. And I use that as like, I call it my misogi, which is like something super physically hard that you're challenging yourself that you're probably like you have a low chance of success. And we can get in that later. When we start talking about fitness stuff, we can explain what that is. But I got some mixed emotions on that for sure. Like, and even my camera guy, I was like, yo, I drew this tag. And he's like, heck yeah. But dang it, that takes out my archery elk hunting.
Yeah. So you're saying that archery elk is your misogi?
Archery elk is a major misogi for me. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you hunt mostly in Colorado, or do you go out of state a lot?
No, I go out of state quite a bit. Try
Yeah.
to. I haven't done a ton of elk hunting out of state. New Mexico, I went last year. I took my daughter on a New Mexico elk hunt, which was
that's cool.
fantastic. I love New Mexico.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But primarily a lot in Colorado.
Yeah.
A lot of Colorado.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Both are two states I would love to dip my toes in one of these
New
days.
Mexico.
And Colorado. Yeah. New
See-
Mexico is very appealing to me.
I think my son's gonna drag me down to Wyoming, my 5-year-old, because he has his heart set on his first big game animal being an antelope. Like he is. Yeah.
Wyoming would be a great place to take him to. There's antelope everywhere.
And I've never hunted out of state before, so learning experience there. But anyway, sweet. That does it for the icebreakers. Let's get into the news. We talked about this bill in its past forms because for the last few years it has risen again. And I was going to avoid talking about it because we've already talked about it a bunch. And it never really made it very far. It was just a big shock factor, to ban all animal killing in Oregon, which would include hunting, fishing, ranching, any kind of meat production, even dairy industry, because artificial insemination is turned into sexual assault. It's just a very wild and out there bill, and it really is the same in each iteration. They just keep changing the title of it. So the new title that they've been working with is called the Peace Act, and they've been saying when they get their signatures, it removes animal cruelty exemptions in Oregon. But then they don't explain what they mean by that, and people go, oh yeah, let's remove animal cruelty exemptions, so they get all these Portlanders to sign it. They've gotten over 100,000 signatures. They need like 20,000 more by July.
Yeah.
Anyway, the people who are behind this are so out of touch, it's not even funny. I mean,
yeah, it's pretty wild.
Like, seriously, I'm saying I wasn't gonna bring it up again, except for the fact that it's getting enough attention that I've had non-hunters in my life asking me about it.
Yeah,
and which is weird.
Yeah,
because all these other crazy bills, like we just had public land beaver trapping banned last year, and it's like all these crazy bills, the gun stuff, dude.
Yeah,
we've got some crazy gun laws coming down the tube. And no one asked me about those, but then this ridiculous thing to ban hunting and fishing that I'm saying now, there's no way on earth. And even if it does pass,
who's going to adhere to that?
Well, well, I mean, be honest with you, it seems so ridiculous, right? It like seems like, God, who would even dreamt up a bill to go after not even all hunting, but it also has a lot to do with ag, right? Like cattle and right, like no killing of any animals when it comes to farming too.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous to try to propose that. But the reality of it is you got 100,000 signatures. And here's where I really get a beef on this subject is it seems so ridiculous to us that we don't even pay attention. Like that's just something really stupid. Right.
Yeah.
But how this is being approached, and I've seen this firsthand from being from Colorado with the wolf, the mountain lion, like there's a lot of stuff going on in Colorado too. It's the same thing with you guys, is to get these signatures, they set up these little booths at like local fairs or local farmers markets. And the way that they approach this is through almost lies. Like it's borderline a lie. And they, like, for example, when we're fighting the mountain lion ban, they had a booth set up on my local farmers market, and they had pictures of these cub mountain lions, like the cutest cubs you could ever look at. And the statement out of the person's mouth was, hey, hunters are murdering these mountain lions. Do you want mountain lions to live? If you want mountain lions to live, sign this paper. Yeah. And that's how they're getting their signatures. It's so shady on how that's being approached. You know, there's no actual science-based anything going from it. It's all about, hey, this is a Disney movie feeling type of thing where, of course, like, do you want Bambi being murdered? And you're like, of course not, right? Like, no, I don't want Bambi to die.
Not till he's full grown.
Yeah.
Not till he has that giant rack at the end of the movie.
7.5 years old, then we'll talk about it.
Come on. Yeah. No, they're doing the same thing with bears. I've seen so much misinformation online lately where, like, do you want black bears to go extinct? And then that's like the thumbnail, and then you read it. It's like hunters and so-called wildlife management agencies of the state are allowing too many black bears to be taken, and they're on track to be extinct by 2029. You know, like crazy, ridiculous stuff that they're making up complete out of thin air numbers and things that aren't true. And so
I mean, I think for this specific bill, and then in Kurt, I don't know if you're familiar with any of the gun laws that Oregon is proposing and has passed in the not too long ago, but they'll use terms like the Peace Act, and they'll go up to people and just say, do you want to get rid of animal cruelty here in Oregon? And then people will just sign it. And
without even asking what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And people were like, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah, I'll sign. I don't want dogs to get, those commercials and whatnot." And and it was the same thing back in 2021 when Bill 114 went through
Measure
for us.
114,
Measure 114, and it was gun restriction laws, and it was just the title of the bill was, "Do you want to end gun violence?" So there's a lot of like a bait and switch type of thing going on here.
And that implemented or attempted to implement, which it's still in the middle of being fought against right now, but you need to get a gun owner's license to own a gun. You need to re-up it. It expires. It costs like $100 to do it. And
it went up to almost $250.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
and you couldn't have a mag that holds more than 10 rounds, which, as a guy who owns guns, you know that half of them come with mags bigger that
Yes.
and all this different stuff. And so anyway, the guy who is putting forward this IP 28, which is the ban on animal killing in Oregon, so all hunting and fishing made illegal. His name is David Michelson, and he's kind of started to be on some like talk shows and podcasts because people are like, who's behind this? What's, unfortunately, it's good PR for him. But anyway, his goal is to slowly bend public perception of animal rights. That's why he's been keeping this bill alive over the years, as it doesn't get enough signatures. He's trying to bend public perception of animal rights, and he wants to apply equal rights to animals that we give to humans. So any human right that we have, he wants to animals to have, because, he's a vegan and just has a completely different worldview and experience than we do, and just doesn't understand how the world works in reality.
Yeah.
But that's his goal there. And really, it's a war of information.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that we have to fight with is information, and that's why we need to use true information, scientific information, actual biology and actual economics and actual truth, because they're just making up stuff to match their agenda of forcing everyone in the world to be a vegan and to give animals equal, like even pest control is made illegal. Like you got a rat infestation, sorry, what you can't poison them, you can't,
The rats have rights too.
Yeah.
They have right to live in your home.
exactly.
Trap them and then release them.
Yeah.
Come on, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and we could sit here and just, we understand how ridiculous that is, but it's a very dangerous standpoint to say, oh man, that's ridiculous, that'll never pass, when we're seeing things pass, right? You guys got the gun laws passed, we got the wolf bill that passed, things are getting passed, and it's a slippery slope. And I can sit here and say, well, I'm not from Oregon, I'm from Colorado, so like that sucks, guys, good luck. But that's a wrong stance to look at it, because once one bill is passed in one state, that can roll out to every state, right? So us as outdoorsmen, we really have to be way more active on this front and actually do things about it. Like instead of just complaining to each other or putting a comment on social media, we have to stand up and start doing a lot more about it, and not look at this as like, oh, that's ridiculous, I'm not going to do anything, whatever, it won't pass. Like we have to like get out in front of it fast, right? So
And there's something that can be done if you want to take advantage of a cool resource. Oregon Hunters Association, OHA, I think their website is oregonhunters.org or something like that. They have these downloadable and printable informational graphics available on their website for IP28 specifically. So you can go to their website, go to their resources, and it's like these cool graphics that are free. They want people to share them, and it's just to kind of help spread awareness. So let's talk to our friends and family and spread awareness on social media about what IP28 really is. Especially, I know the podcast platform tells me where everyone listens from, and we have a lot of Portland listeners. And so, Portland is kind of where this is coming from. So do your part, Portlanders who enjoy our show, and make sure to tell everyone about how stupid IP28 is, and we'll keep it off the bill. But I think too, what you're saying, Kurt, makes me think like there's sort of a bigger shift that needs to happen, because this bill is just a symptom of a public perception problem where people think that hunting is evil because of Disney and Bambi and different things, and also their ideologies that are against the outdoorsman lifestyle. So, man, it takes a lot of interacting with people in a positive light, and man,
I was gonna say that like. I work in a very corporate environment, and everybody I work with knows I hunt and I fish and I talk about it and stuff. And I've had numerous conversations with people who you would think would probably sign off on IP28, and I've had very positive interactions with them. because I just simply explain on how it works. I mean, like, no, we have laws. I'm only allowed to take 1 deer a year. I have to get a tag, and if I don't, I can't hunt. And if I'm caught, I can't hunt. Of course, there's people who abuse the laws, but it's really important to be that positive person in those people's lives and have those conversations. And I would just encourage like all of our Portland listeners, like be that guy at work and, for lack of a better term, evangelize them to the good side of hunting, to the positive side of hunting.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny you bring that up because I've had conversations with non-hunters, like you're saying. They don't even know that we have tags and licenses.
Yeah.
They don't even know that we can only hunt during daylight hours and during a certain time of the year. There's this idea that a lot of people who have no contact with the outdoors lifestyle, who think that we just go out there, load up the back of the truck bed with a bunch of dudes with shotguns and drive down the road with spotlights and shoot stuff all year long. Like, that's the definition of poaching I just described. Poachers and hunters. I think that's a good campaign that, I've been trying to talk about a lot is poachers are not hunters. Anytime I see an article shared where it says like hunter illegally kills 140-inch buck on this property, then I'm always in the comments like, he's not a hunter, he's a poacher,
Yeah. Don't let me in, with him, right? Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that the main thing that we really need to look at is this ballot box biology stuff, right? Like we shouldn't allow the public to vote on this stuff. It shouldn't even be allowed because who is educated? Like, is the general public educated on any of this stuff? Not at all. And when what education they do have is some shifted, twisted, made up numbers a lot of time education where, I watch Disney movies and I don't want someone to be cruel to dogs, right? Like that's not even what this is about, but like they're just, they shouldn't be in the hands of the public. It should be in the hands of scientists. And, there's I have nothing negative to say anything about vegans, but there's also needs to be an education there too, right? If you don't eat meat, great, man, that's awesome. Do what you want to do, but don't do it because you don't want to harm animals. Yeah. Because being a vegan still harms animals. Yeah. They just don't understand that, right? So
out of touch with reality, but anyway. Yeah. Well, that's IP28. Keep an eye on that as it gets signatures, and we'll see if it hits the ballot. And if it does, I'm sure we're going to have a whole hands on deck with, everyone from Hal to whoever else doing all the different things. So keep an eye out on that. Let's get into our conversation with Kurt.
Let's do it.
All right. Kurt, tell me your favorite hunting story or outdoor experience.
There's so many, so how do you choose one for favorite? But a couple that comes to my mind, it's usually and has nothing to do with the size of an animal or anything like that when I think of good moments. It has more to do with the experience or who I was with, experiencing that with, right? So probably one of my top one is I took my mom on her first elk hunt. And so I grew up with my mom hunting whitetail quite a bit. And I would hunt with her just as much as I would hunt with my dad.
Really?
And my uncles.
Cool.
Yeah. My mom loves hunting. And she's like, in her upper 60s right now. And she still goes whitetail hunting and sits in her blind, but she does it in definitely like a grandma mom type of way. Like she has a heated blind with some bottle of wine and some snacks and so she does it definitely. But I brought her elk hunting because she was getting really interested and curious about it. So I took her to Colorado on an elk hunt, and it was horseback, wall tent, like it was legit.
Wow.
And she ended up killing an elk, and it was one of my favorite moments by far. I mean, it's just a raghorn 5x5, nothing big by no means, but one of my favorite moments in the mountains by far.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. We ask that question to every guest, and almost every guest brings up a story shared with family.
Yeah, whether family it's or a close friend.
Their dad or their son or for you, your mom, That's cool. Mm-hmm. And I know that you loved that moment because you made it a part of the intro to your videos.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Or that moment when she pulls the trigger on that elk is right, on your Western Obsession TV YouTube channel. So that's pretty cool.
That's right. Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. The first question I want to ask, as we're talking about hunting and fitness and the intersection there, is how did your life in lifting and athletics transition into a life of producing hunting media? Like, did you find that to be a natural transition, or was it a bigger shift than you expected?
I would say, the act of creating media probably doesn't have a lot of overlap with fitness, I'd say, but fitness and the type of hunting that I want to do does have a
Okay.
lot of overlap. I just like to film it to allow other people to experience some of my experiences. It's just so much fun for me
Yeah.
to like try to entertain someone with something that I've done.
Yeah.
Not in an egotistical way by no means, just like there's a lot of people, even hunters that I'm friends with that don't do some of the adventures that I get to go on. So I love to bring them along and say, hey, look, this was my adventure. Check it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they feel like they're there, right? So
Uh-huh.
that's the media side of it. But as far as how fitness really plays in, I love doing that backcountry type of hunt where it's super physical hunt, and that's always comes into play with fitness.
Yeah.
Even like that long whitetail sit, right, where it's not physical, but it's mental. That also comes into play for me.
Yeah.
And so when I'm working out or working on my fitness, it's even more. Obviously, you get a byproduct of being in better shape, looking better, and being more physically fit. But for me, it's more mentally
Hmm.
tough,
Mm.
working on my mental toughness.
Okay.
So, when you're archery elk hunting or an Oregon blacktail hunting and it's been raining on you and you're cold, it's not so much of like, can my body handle it? It's really, can my mind handle it?
Yeah.
And you really can't train, physically for moments of like, well, let's go climb this 13,000-foot mountain and be hiking for 6 hours straight with 50 pounds on my back. Like,
Yeah.
how am I going to train for that physically? You
Yeah.
really can't, but I can train for that mentally. I can do very hard things on a daily basis that gives me more mental toughness.
Yeah.
That's really where that fitness comes into play for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gage, you're my like main liaison for this conversation here because Gage he was a sports kid. He's been working out for a long time. He goes to the gym like 5 times a week or something stupid like
Something
that.
like that.
And so what do you think about the mental part? Because that's a part that I had never considered. I mean, I've worked out before and gone through seasons of working out, but I definitely feel like the mental stamina needed for keeping yourself out, and in our context of blacktail hunting, keeping yourself in one spot, because there's so many times where I get, hike way in to this cool landing and I'm glassing just a great habitat area and I'm sitting there for an hour in the rain, and really I need to sit there until the sun goes down because that's when the bucks are going to come out. But then 4 o'clock rolls around and I'm itching to move. 4:30 and I'm like needing to really force myself to stay in this spot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it kind of like, so that for me, that's the mental toughness I feel is like I'm forcing myself to stay here until it is prime time because I worked so hard to get myself here. And if I get bored and stand up with 15 minutes of daylight left, then I'm just screwing myself,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's something that I've done in the past.
Yeah.
So, Gage, how has your working out helped with that too?
Yeah, Kurt, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Because as we were talking with you about fitness and about the outdoors and everything, that's been a very seamless transition for me in my life, going from playing sports my whole life, playing college sports, and then I never hunted growing up. So having that seamless transition. There we go, into hunting was very seamless. But then the mental toughness aspect, which is something that we very specifically trained when I played college baseball and I was a pitcher. And so when you're a pitcher in college, I feel like you're almost a runner. Like you're going on long runs. That's like constantly what you're doing, trying to build up your stamina. And that mental toughness plays a huge role. So I think you really hit the nail on the head. You kind of mentioned this briefly, doing things that suck on a daily basis, do you have any recommendations on like very specific things you do or training regimens that you've stuck to for a long time to help you build up that mental toughness?
For sure, man. I got some good stuff. Before I tell you that, I want to share with you, I was a pitcher in college also.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. POs, baby.
Yeah. And it does take a lot of mental toughness, and it takes a lot of, you got to have a goldfish memory,
Yep.
right? Like you missed two spots, now you're down 2-0. You're like, crap. Now
Yep.
I'm down 2-0 on this hitter that's going to crush if I throw a fastball over.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a lot to do with that mental game. So, man, I can relate with you quite a bit there,
Amen,
man.
dude.
So
And
That's
you,
so cool.
you grew up in the Midwest, didn't you?
I did.
Did you play baseball in the Midwest?
I did.
Yeah.
I played at Bellevue my freshman year, and then Nebraska Wesleyan, which was
Wow.
NAIA and D3. We did like a hybrid thing.
Oh, interesting. I played at a local school here called Pacific University. I also played at George Fox University too. Those two, and those are both D3 schools. So that's so funny.
Yeah, very similar levels. And I know we're off tangent, guys, if you guys are listening, but like one baseball guy to another, whenever we bump into each other, baseball guys are weird, right? So like, hey, you're my breed.
Yeah.
We're weird together, right?
Yeah,
Like,
especially
we can bump
POs.
people.
Yeah, POs,
Yeah.
Pitchers only. That's what that means.
Yeah,
Oh,
pitchers
got it.
only,
Okay.
for sure, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Like when you're a pitcher, you're doing a lot of running, a lot of endurance stuff, and I got to hit too, Gage. I don't know if you got to hit. I played some field too.
I did a
Played left.
little. I did a little stint in half of my college career was during COVID. So and I went to a community college for a little bit, and so I did get to hit and field a little bit, but that was very short lived.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right, sorry guys. We'll break from the baseball talk, and I'm gonna get into some
More
like,
important things.
some actionable tactics on what you can do to build mental toughness on a daily basis.
Yeah.
This should hopefully bring value. And I don't want to get to it. So I've been into fitness for like ever, man. Like I'm 46. I've been doing fitness since I was high school sports, right? So I've been always working out. So I'm sometimes careful to get too advanced on it. So I'll go as advanced as you guys want. Obviously, like, you're thinking about working out. A lot of people think about, let's go into the gym and do some bicep curls and some bench press and maybe some squats if I'm feeling tough today, right? Like no one likes doing squats, right? Yeah. It's an acquired taste that you have to build up to. But that's not really what I do. For me, that type of fitness is like fun fitness. Like it feels good to me. So it doesn't really build my mental toughness that much because it's not much suck. Like doing a bicep curl is fun, man. I get a pump on my bicep and I see my arm getting bigger in the mirror. That gives me a dopamine release. Like that's fun, right?
Yeah.
So for me, my daily suck routine is I come up with a whole bunch of different stuff, and I have a big background in CrossFit. So I know a lot of those CrossFit types of movements, but really I just come up with a regiment of how can I, like, how much pain can I get in today? Like, what's my maximum pain? Like, what crazy stuff can I do to be in the most pain possible in my workout? Yeah. Which sounds really sadistic, right? Like, really bad, but it literally could be anything. There's one time we did this for a charity event, and a buddy of mine did burpees for an hour straight with no break. Right.
Wow.
And if you guys know what a burpee is, just getting down on the floor and getting back up doesn't sound too hard, but usually you do a few of them and you go do something else. But in an hour, I did well over 1,000 burpees in an hour, and I had blisters on my knees and on my toes, and I was jacking myself up going down and up. But that is a mentally tough thing to do. To continue doing with no break. It's not like it wasn't a cardio thing. I wasn't like my lungs weren't burning. It was more mental tough. I just had to keep getting on the floor and getting back up for an hour, hundreds and hundreds of times. Right. So I just look at things like what can suck the most today, which is a mental toughness thing in general. Like not every day you feel like getting into a lot of pain.
Yeah, no kidding.
So some of my workouts might be with a single kettlebell. Or I might do some kettlebell swings and then right into some kettlebell snatches and right into some overhead lunges, which is not anything complex. But if I do that with no breaks for 18 minutes straight, that gets mentally tough at some point, right? So, and that's it. It's in that moment of like, oh my God, my lungs are burning. My legs are on fire. I can't hold this kettlebell over my head any longer. It's going to fall on my head. I may pass out.
Yeah.
In that moment, to choose not to quit, to choose to push through, because your mind wants to shut your body off before it needs to. It's like a warning mechanism. Like your mind goes, "Yo, you're pushing it a little hard. You need to chill out." The
Mm.
reality of it is, you have a lot left before something bad happens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can push past that point, and it's that moment of saying, "Yep, I'm hurting and I'm in a lot of pain, but I can keep going. I don't need to stop."
Mm-hmm.
That moment, every time you do that, increases your pain threshold for the next workout.
Yeah.
But it also, if you don't do that for a while, let's say I do that for 30 days straight, and then I take 30 days off, well, my pain threshold just dropped back down to zero.
Yeah.
In those 30 days off. So it's something you need to do on a regular basis to keep that pain threshold up. And how that applies for me in daily life, life is hard. Things are going to happen. There's things I relate this just to getting punched in the face. You're going to get punched in the face in life. And if you're doing hard things on a regular basis, then life isn't so hard. You can handle it.
Mm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same thing where this will apply to the hunting world is, all right, the hunt gets hard. You want to quit is because whether it's been rained on or it's cold or you can't find animals and it sucks. When that moment of wanting to quit, it's the same moment of wanting to quit the workout.
Yeah.
You just push through and you stay in the field. And the longer you can stay in the field, the higher your success will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, in my most recent workout stint, I learned about that mental toughness thing because I realized, like, we're spending all this money on a gym, load up the kids, they have like a childcare thing, we go up and we try to carve out an hour as much as we can to work, and it's like a big old thing. And then we get up there to work out and we didn't really know how to use the equipment or
Yeah.
what to do. And so then we're like doing the stuff that I learned back in like fitness class in high school, and just not really getting to the point of being like sweaty and out of breath. And that's kind of when I realized, like, this is doing nothing. When I go hiking in the woods, I get sweaty and out of breath like in the first 30 minutes, like this,
Yeah.
And so, but the other thing that I kind of noticed too was most of my hunting styles that I do, like when my hunting seasons are over in the beginning of winter, I'm like the most physically fit of the entire year. I've got so much strength and stamina and my body fat is gone. And, but this year I decided I wanted to tree stand deer hunt. I had never done it before. I was like, I'm going to do it. And, so I spent most of November and the first part of December sitting in a tree stand, and, I did not get the physical benefit from hunting that I normally do, because I've been just spot and stalk hiking in the mountain style hunting all before that. That's all I've ever done, and so this was like a new thing, and so I kind of feel robbed, like, because I didn't kill a buck, I didn't get to see the mountains, I kind of lost touch with some of my favorite hunting spots out there, and I didn't get any kind of physical cut from sitting in a tree stand.
Yeah.
So now I'm just a sad fat guy with no buck. But
I always
anyway.
say that, like, elk hunting gets me in shape, and then whitetail hunting makes me fat. But you just sit there and you don't burn, like, you're burning calories when you're cold and shivering, but like you're just sitting there as still as absolutely possible, right? But you don't want to move.
Yeah.
You move, you're gonna get, and so, but you're bored, so you're eating like eating little snacks that you normally wouldn't eat all day long. But like that hunt is actually super mentally tough too.
Yeah.
To sit there all day, right? So
no, that's where it was stretching me, is because it's even worse than sitting on a clear cut because there's less to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, my tree stand is up on a big tree and there's brush all around me. Like I said, I didn't kill a buck. I've never tree stand hunted before. Maybe I did something wrong where I set up my stand, but I was just sitting there with like, one trail below me, watching, waiting. And that's where the mental thing came in. But it's funny because there was the most physical day that I had was taking my tree stand out of the tree. Other than that, I didn't break a sweat. And so I'm definitely right now feeling the urge. And one thing we're doing, Kurt, we're partnered with the Life Outdoors, which is actually they're based in Southern Oregon, but it's a hunting nonprofit that is for engaging people with their faith through the outdoors. And
Very good.
so we're doing a fundraiser this March that's called the Spring Awakening. And so we're going to be doing daily rucks, and it's kind of like a jogathon, you know, for people can sponsor the miles that you cover. But that's
Nice.
I'm really counting on the Spring Awakening to help me shake off this muffin top that I've got going on.
We could do it together. We're doing a missions trip through our church, and
We're going to Mexico.
We're going to Mexico, and it's going to be really hot, and it's going to be really dry.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's going to help us out a lot
For the Spring
Sure.
Awakening.
for the Spring Awakening.
Yeah. But in,
Yeah, that's great, guys. That's awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, but anyway,
Yeah,
off
okay.
that tangent.
Yeah.
Are there different like seasons that you go through, Kurt, where you kind of change it up? Like you'll do a month of rucking, you know, like hiking with weight, or do you mostly just do like weight related and body weight stuff like at home?
God, yeah, great question. Here's how I look at it. When I'm coming off of hunting season, right, like you, I'm in amazing shape at the end of elk season, especially endurance wise, because I'm spending most of my time 11, 12,000 feet. And so
Yeah,
lack of
man.
oxygen. And I've dropped a lot of body weight. Like I'll lose 30 pounds in a season,
Wow,
elk season,
man.
pretty
Wow.
easy.
I'll lose 15,
And-
and I thought that was a lot. That's crazy. 30 pounds, man.
Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, it gets to an extreme end of it because you can't carry, like when you're backpacking hunting, you can't carry enough calories
Yeah.
to sustain yourself. It's
Yeah.
just not possible.
Yeah.
So I lose a lot of weight elk hunting. And then obviously I go into my other hunts, which isn't quite as physical, whether it be mule deer, whitetail, whatever. So when I come out of season, I've lost a lot of strength and muscle also. So I focus more on power lifts and strength, which I always bring in. So let me give you an example here. So like I'll do a squat deadlift day and I'll work on power and strength. But after my squat and deadlift, I'll do maybe a 12 to 15-minute HIIT, high intensity training, which is that suck workout right after. But my main focus is more on building back muscle, building back strength. So I'll do that for at least 45 days, if not 60 days. And then I'll transition into more of like my Olympic type of stuff, or like body weight things, pull-ups and stuff like that with higher heart rate stuff. And I'll start running more. For me, running really helps a lot for my hiking ability in the mountains because I'm strengthening all those little muscles from my knees down to my toes when
Okay.
I'm running, and which you need a lot when you're hiking, right? So,
Yeah.
so I'll start running a little bit more, and then coming into like now where we're hitting into the summer,
Yeah.
I will dial down the powerlifting and the heavy strength training, and I'll ramp up my running a lot. So
Okay.
I'll start running a lot more, getting closer to season.
That makes a lot of
Which will
sense.
also be rucking. I'll do some rucking too to get weight.
Okay.
Used to weight on my back.
Yeah.
I'm curious if so like the benefits of running, are they like completely different than like the benefit of rucking? Like do they do different things?
No, it's similar in the fact that like you're still strengthening the endurance of the muscles from the knees down. The main difference is when you're rucking, your heart rate is higher and your breathing's heavier because
Okay.
you're carrying, call it 50, 60 pounds.
Yeah.
You're just not, usually when you're rucking, you're not on a full out run.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
so when I'll ramp up my running, I will do a mixture of like a little bit longer runs within, I don't know, 3 to 5 miles, but I'll also do 1 mile runs. And my 1 mile run, I'll try to do that fast where I'm like trying to get under a certain time. But when I throw on a ruck, it's not about running. It's like a shuffle. So, but I'm weighted down. So I'm still getting the cardio in my lungs. But I'm also like building the trap back and core while I'm doing the ruck. So my body will start getting used to carrying that weight.
Yeah.
But even all the stuff that I do, guys, like, honestly, it really doesn't. Like, it helps for sure, but it's not like I am ready to go come archery elk season and I'm perfect. That
Yeah.
day 1, day 2 still sucks.
Yeah.
Right. And I still got to get used to it when I get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting used to the suck, right? Making the suck normal. I think that's a huge
making
thing.
that suck normal.
Yeah.
That's the mental part.
Yeah, and I think back in college, I had a couple really great pitching coaches. They always liken it to, I don't know, have you seen the movie Miracle? about the 1980s Olympic team, the hockey team. It's the legs feed the wolves, right? And we would run up hills and do all this stuff, and our coach is screaming in our face, like, what's gonna happen when you're in a 3-2 count, 9th inning? We're in the national championship, and he's putting us in those moments mentally to, I mean, one, to be ready for it, but for smaller moments that we can handle. Like, this is just a breeze. This is just normal everyday pitching, right? And so when you put yourself into those positions as hunters, that we're out in the mountains and we've already done 10 miles on the day, and we hear a bull bugling 3 ridges over. All right, let's go. This is just normal. We're just doing it.
Dude, you know what'd be insane is if someone like recorded a bunch of those like motivational coach yelling at you for like you to listen to while you're working out. Then we can make a hunting version of it.
Yeah.
There's a bull, quick. Go, we gotta go down that ridge.
Yeah, you're on a treadmill, it's going up and down.
That whole one other thing I do that I think might be valuable to you guys or like your listeners that elk or archery hunt just in general is a lot of guys will practice archery hunt or with their bow at a stagnant perfect stance, and that's how they practice, right? So when I get closer to my season, is that how you practice typically? Yeah. Which is fine when you're trying to dial in the equipment and you're like getting back into your shot process and like, which is absolutely fine. But once you're there, your equipment's dialed in, you feel confident in that, you feel confident in your shot process. Very rarely have I ever killed anything where my shot was perfect. Like I was standing perfectly in my position with 2 feet, somewhat sideways, upright, in the perfect position. Very rarely has that ever happened. I'm usually having to figure out some way to be uncomfortable when I'm shooting. Like I've shot animals off my butt. I've shot them on one knee. I've shot them torqued over, torqued backwards, like getting into a shooting lane, right? So like when you get closer to season, practice a bunch of situations that you might get in so you get comfortable in that situation. Same thing as what you're talking about there, Gage, is like, that way, like when you're, stand hunting and you got to like crouch down to get under a branch or whatever, or you're elk hunting and you're down on one knee, but if you stand up, you're going to get busted. So you're shooting off of one knee, right? Like when you're in that situation, but you've practiced it, you feel way more confident in doing it. Same thing with the heart rate. Like you guys are elk hunters. Like how often have you shot at an elk with a low heart rate?
Never, not once.
Never. Even whitetail hunting, I'm going to shoot out a whitetail with a high heart rate because I have buck fever, right? Like,
that's what I was thinking. Is like, man, I think I get the worst buck fever with turkeys, but you hear an elk bugle, especially the first bugle of the season, man. Oh, the adrenaline dump is crazy.
Right. Or maybe you had to make a move. You had to like sprint for a couple 100 yards in the mountains to like cut off an elk or whatever. So some of the training I'll do is I'll drop and do 20 burpees, come up and take a shot. Yeah. And I got to figure out, all right, breathe, get my breath back, bring down my heart rate, steady, make a good shot. Because that's real life hunting situations that you can get into.
Yeah, that's something that's not talked about a whole lot in the archery world, at least that I've been around, is taking those shots with your heart rate super elevated. But there is we're doing this thing here. It's multi-state, but it's the Northwest Mountain Challenge, where they set up 3D targets up on a mountainside, and you hike up and you take shots at targets and everything. I think that's probably what the general goal is. 1, to practice, but 2, also to make those shots under duress. Yeah,
the mountain challenge is awesome because you're shooting at 3D targets, but they set it up in situations. So as you follow the trail, you some of them you even have to squeeze through the brush. Like they take you right through the brush, and then you pop out, and there's like a bull 60 yards away on the edge of the tree line. And then, they have some that are just bombers. Like there's if you want to take them, there's a couple like 90-yard targets, but that's more just to kind of stretch yourself. Not, you're not practicing to shoot an elk at 90 yards. I don't recommend anyone does that. But, most of them are like realistic hunting situations, and you're hiking around, you're getting out of breath. But we have a booth there this year at the Oregon and the Washington stop, so that's going to be fun to be there again.
Right.
Super fun.
Okay.
Yeah. You kind of already touched on this a little bit, but for preparing for a big hunt, like kind of like what you're doing in September for moose,
Hmm.
um, are there specific ways that you'll prepare for that specific hunt?
Yeah, it really depends on what type of hunt it is,
Yeah.
right? Um, if it's a backcountry backpacking hunt, physically, I want to feel like I can handle myself physically and I'm not putting myself in danger or behind the eight ball.
Yeah.
But also, I'm going to test my gear out ahead of time too, because
Mhm.
the worst thing you could do is pack up a bunch of gear that you haven't tested, and all of a sudden your water filter doesn't work,
Yeah,
or
man.
something like that.
Yeah.
Something failed, like you forgot batteries for your headlamps, or so I'll test out a lot of gear, and then obviously go over checklists, and then never fails. I'll be on the plane or driving or whatever, and I'll be anxiety that I forgot something.
Yeah. So do
Yeah.
you like do mini trips then with your gear before the big trip? Do you do like an outing on the mountain to test stuff out, or are you just kind of testing it at home?
Well, I think it's a great idea to actually take it to the mountain and test it. I don't, just because I don't have a lot of time, and I don't want to spend
Sure.
time away from my family because I'm about to go on a trip, spending away
Yeah. Yeah.
from my family. So I just do most of my testing here at home. I'll run through all my gear, make sure it all works, and then I'll pack it up where strategically I want it in my pack. That way I don't have to repack when I get to wherever I'm going.
Yeah.
Like water gear are very easily accessible, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that all makes a lot of sense. I know I try to do some of those similar things before September, and just so you know, I've only been hunting a few years, so it's really been a short stint of migrating all of my sports stuff into the hunting world. But that all makes a
Mhm.
lot of sense. And another question I had, we kind of touched on it earlier with Carl, the guy here in Salem, who's just hung it up after 80 years of hunting. I'm not getting any younger. I'm almost 30. But
Mhm.
how do you train with the idea of longevity of your
Mhm.
body, how it feels? I think the mental aspect of this is something that we continually work on, but physically making sure you protect your joints, you're not pulling stuff all the time.
Mhm.
One of the notes I had here is, do you deadlift? And I think you already hinted at that. That's always been a contentious thing with some of the people I've talked to. So, how do you protect your
Absolutely.
body? Hmm.
Yeah, no, I absolutely deadlift. That's one of the most, for me, and this might be polarizing from what you guys have heard before, but deadlifts is one of my most important things to do to keep my longevity.
Oh, okay.
hmm Is because you think about a deadlift, man, you're using so much of your body
Hmm.
and so much of your core. As long as you're practicing good form and you're not stupid and crazy, like me being 46, I have to understand I'm not 26 anymore. I'm not trying to pull a 500-pound deadlift, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I have to understand those things, but deadlifting keeps you healthy, super
Mm,
healthy. Like the stability that you're using on a deadlift is the same stability you're going to be using going over deadfall,
yeah.
Mm.
in the mountains. So like strengthening your core, strengthening your hamstrings, your glutes, your shoulders, your grip, your arm, your back. Like it was one of the best lifts for you. So
Yeah.
definitely deadlift into old age,
So
right?
so what
So
you're saying is that the motion and the action of deadlifting isn't dangerous in itself. It's when you're trying to break world records that it becomes a
yeah, when you're
problem.
being stupid about it is when, and I'm not telling anybody stupid because I'm a very stupid person a lot. All right. So
From one to
yeah,
another.
you're
Yeah.
like the act of deadlifting is a very healthy lift to do. It's when you think you're He-Man and you probably shouldn't be, or it's when you're trying to rep out a lot of reps fast and you're not keeping a form, or you're not stretching on a regular basis and you're not keeping your muscles healthy,
Yeah.
and you're wearing something down. Because here's what happens sometimes, guys: if we're not keeping our body healthy, and I'll definitely dig into micro details of this for you guys, because Gage,
For
it
sure.
definitely seems like you're interested in it.
Yeah.
If you're not keeping your body healthy, what happens a lot of times is a part of your body, some of the muscles may shut off and not be used. And now you're only using one muscle instead of multiple muscles. That's when
Hmm.
you can pull a muscle and you can get hurt.
Mm,
So, like for us as pitchers, right?
yeah.
If we just work on the front side of our shoulder and the rotation of this movement, I'm sorry if you guys aren't seeing, I'm throwing a baseball movement. If we're only strengthening this part of our shoulder, but we're not strengthening the back part of our rotator, as our arm slows down, like that slow down
Yep.
process, we're going to hurt our shoulder,
Yep.
Mm.
right? So like we want the whole shoulder to be activated, not just part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing when you're working out. You want to make sure like all the muscles are activated, not just one muscle. And that's when you get hurt.
Yep.
So let me get into some tactics for you guys.
Yeah.
Stretching super important. Mobility is really important to me. So every day, before every workout, I'll work on mobility. I'll spend 20 to 30 minutes working on my mobility, which is dynamic stretching, static stretching, but it's me keeping my range of motion, and I want to improve my range of motion because that's when you get old, that's the major thing that goes away.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously bone density, obviously muscle mass, but the main thing that really F's you up is your mobility, is your ability to have your body move in ways and movements and directions that it no longer can because you haven't been working on it. And for us as guys, our egos get to work for us and we want to have a big bench press and a big back squat and a big deadlift, but we don't work on stretching or mobility. So yeah, we get stronger, but our mobility gets worse, which will cause major issues for us as we get older.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I almost spend more time on mobility than I do my actual workout. Like I'm more serious about that than my actual workout. So I do mobility before, mobility after. And then during my workout, before I do something, I make sure that my body's primed for it. I'll do a good warm up. I'll make sure that the muscles activated. I'll make sure that like I'm ready to work. And then I hit it and I really try like to dial it back as much as I can. Cause I'm trying to decide how much of a rabbit hole I want to go down with you guys.
No, I love it, man. I love it. So
yeah.
this is like the specific tips we like to give to our listeners. So this is great.
Okay, cool. Well, here's a philosophy that I have that may also be very polarizing. Your body is an amazing machine. It's absolutely amazing. So a lot of times things start to happen where you start getting a little bit of a tendonitis or something's not quite feeling very good. So you baby your body, right? Like, oh man, my arm hurts. So I'm not going to use my arm for a little bit, but then it just doesn't get better. Like, God, what's going on with my arm? How come it's just not healing for me? I have a philosophy like I force my body to heal. I force it in a way of like, okay, body, you're not feeling great. I'll allow you some time to heal. I'll baby you for a little bit, but if it's not getting better, I go right at it and I push it hard and I force it to heal. So like, can be super like, okay, take it with a grain of salt, guys. I get a little heady on it. I'm not trying to injure yourself, but like, you don't have to be a pansy to your body. Also, it will adapt. It's an amazing machine. Especially like if you hurt something and it's not an injury, it just doesn't feel good, but it's not healing. It's because there's not a lot of blood getting to it. So if you actually use it and push it, you get more blood there. And by getting more blood there, your blood's carrying more nutrients there, which will actually heal whatever's not feeling great faster than if you just sit on the couch and do nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So,
yeah. Okay. I think, Kurt, this is divine intervention at the time, at least in my fitness journey of, I'm, like I said, I'm getting a little bit older and my body's starting to, after you've done sports your whole life, especially collegiate sports, your body gets worn down pretty
You've
hard.
had a number of surgeries.
Yeah, I've had a lot of injuries. I had like 7 or 8 different surgeries. Tommy John took me down. Tommy John, for our listeners who don't know baseball speak, I tore a major ligament in my elbow from pitching. And so I had to have that one replaced, essentially. So the stretching and the mobility that you're talking about, I think is so key for us hunters that does not get talked about at all. And I think for our listeners and for me, mostly talking to me, I got to take that into consideration as I go. Cause right now my stretching routine is pretty minimal. So I got to increase that. So thanks for those tidbits. And
sure, man. Yeah. And I can kind of guess on what your stretching routine is. Like whatever muscle you're working out that day, you do like 3 minutes of warming it up and then you go at it, right?
Yep. I go like deadlifts. I'm like, all right, I'll stretch out the hammies a little bit more, but I don't want to stretch too much because then I'm not quite as strong. And, right. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Let me also help you with this because there is the theory of like you stretch a muscle, the muscle's not going to be as strong because it's like a rubber band, right?
For sure.
So I'll make sure I get my body in a good mobile position. Like I'll stretch for mobility, But my warm up is reactivating the muscles to make sure it's working and they're firing well. So like for your deadlift, I'm going to do a lot of hamstring, lower back stuff, even like some shoulder stuff, lats, because you use a lot of lats. I'm going to stretch I do go through my whole routine, but I'll focus more on that.
Yeah.
But then I'll do some warm ups that is actually going to fire my hamstrings again. It's going to fire my legs, my quads, my lats. I'll do like maybe a little bit of pull up. Like I'm going to fire those muscles again and tell my body, yo, we're going to work. So like get ready to work. Right. So like you can engage those muscles again. So you don't have to worry about losing strength or whatever. Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. One of the questions, sorry, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I was just going to apply this to a longevity of hunting. And when I think of hunting, and we're Western hunters, I'm going to talk more to the Western guy. Okay. Sure. So when we're on a mountain and we're climbing a mountain or we're in the thick stuff, we have deadfall. We're walking over. We're constantly off balance or trying to keep a balance in one foot, or we're carrying a bow or stepping over something. It's that by staying mobile, by stretching and focusing on balance, that's where the longevity really comes into play. Because where are we going to get hurt? You're not going to get hurt because you're sprinting down a mountain. You're going to get hurt because you're tired and you're not paying attention, and you go to step over a deadfall and you slip, you fall, turn an ankle, hurt a hip, do something stupid.
Yeah, that's
right?
real. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Every time I've gotten hurt, I haven't got hurt that much out in the woods, but it was when I was tired. I slipped on a little bit and I didn't have time to catch, and I kind of pulled a little muscle in my side or whatever.
Yeah, it's usually for me descending to the bottom of a canyon on a semi-steep hill.
Yeah.
And, you're on loose stuff, rocks tumbling, you're stepping over logs, just like what you're saying. Hit the nail on the head for sure.
Yeah. I do have one last fitness or kind of just in that realm question that I think just kind of fully rounds out what we've been talking about. Is your food that you eat. The question here I have is, are we what we eat? And what does your nutrition look like? Maybe in season, out of season, leading up to season. Maybe just a brief overview of that.
Yeah, it's great. We are absolutely the food that we eat. 100%. Like our body takes our food, digests the food, goes into our bloodstream, and literally becomes the molecules that make up our body. So like what we eat becomes us, which is, dude, I can get a super heady little offshoot here, right? Like,
let's do it.
When we're out hunting and we go harvest a deer or an elk or a bear, and we take that bear's life.
Yeah.
And we bring it home and we eat the bear. That meat goes into our body, digests it, goes into our bloodstream, which actually becomes our body.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Like that bear became part of me that I will use, like literally a part of my body, and I'll carry on for however many years, right? That's such a cool way to look, right? It becomes me. The bear becomes me, right? So, but yeah, your food absolutely becomes you. If you eat garbage, man, you will be garbage. Like, disease, body fat, health issues, like you're going to have them if you're eating garbage. So for me, throughout the season, I try to eat as best as I can, and it has a lot of wild game in my diet. So I eat a lot of elk, a lot of deer, bear if I've got it. I eat a lot of wild game. That's probably 90% of my meat is wild game, but I really try to keep it somewhat clean. I'm not the best at it. I love my desserts. So like during the days are pretty good. I have dinner at night. I'm probably hitting some dessert. I probably shouldn't before bed, which could be cheesecake, ice cream, whatever.
And then it sits in you all night.
Yeah. And then I feel like crap, but like, so I like my dessert. So I'll hit dessert, but I try to keep it pretty healthy throughout the year. But when I'm on a backpacking hunt, I'm not packing broccoli and rice, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not packing chicken breast. I'm packing whatever's got the most calories in it that can sustain my body weight the best that I can. So I'll look at fats. I look at nuts. And it also has to be light food. So it's got to be light, but it's got to be high calories. So most of that stuff is fat stuff.
Yeah.
I love bringing bacon. I love bacon on the mountain. That's so good. Nuts, peanut butter, anything high fat I'm eating. And then I live on freeze dried food because that's the lightest and the best thing the easiest thing to bring when you're backpacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It always reminds me of the same, whenever I get onto this subject, I just think of the same thing of the Pacific Crest Trail through hikers who are covering 20 miles a day and packing ultralight. Like some of those guys go buy a family pack of Oreos and that's their food for the day because it's high in fat and sugar, and they're just straight up burning it, like when you're doing that endurance level through hike, like it's not staying in you, you're eating it, you're burning it, and it's gone, and you need more calories after it's gone. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, because like I said, we had Carl Llewellyn on, and he's with Rec Pack, and that's a really great like meal replacement thing that it could take the place of like a freeze-dried meal, and it's got the perfect balance of sugars and fats. So when I told him about the Oreos, he was kind of horrified.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hear your perspective on that, like in the hunt food. I want to know what you got to say.
Yeah, I don't think I would live on a whole box of Oreos for the day. Just 'cause, man, it's not good fuel, right? Yeah, it's calories and it's sugar, which replaces your glycogen in the muscles, but like that's not good. That's not good quality output of energy, right? So, and I bring. Typically, I live on a lot of type of bars. Like I don't eat breakfast when I wake up because I'm running and gunning for elk or whatever I'm doing. I'll stop around like that 10 o'clock, have a bar. Maybe I try to hit a freeze-dried food at lunch. Then I love my little junk snack. So I'll put some like gummies in there or something fun to like keep my mental state good. Like I earned those gummy bears or whatever, right? So, and then freeze-dried food at night is kind of like, but yeah, to just eat Oreos all day, man, I think I would feel like crap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my problem. Yeah. I got to stop bringing so many candy bars out there.
Every time you open your bag, we're out in the woods, it's Oreos. No, I'm just kidding. It's not.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Man, well, this has been some really, really solid advice and specific advice.
Yeah.
I love it when we talk with someone like how we have today, Kurt, and you just like give us some specific, because, to talk about fitness in the outdoor world, you can talk in a lot of generalities and it doesn't really mean anything to someone who like me, who's not really like in the fitness world. So it was really helpful for you to be specific. So I appreciate that in our conversation.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it brings value to your listeners and they can actually use the information. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So we end the show every time with what we call the real talk. And what we want to do here is we want to ask, I know that we don't have all the time in the world, but I'd love if you could give us your spiritual perspective on your life in the outdoors and how you connect with the outdoors spiritually.
Yeah, man, that's a really good question. I don't think I've really talked much about this to my like friends and family for sure, but not publicly. So I'm not a religious person. I don't really follow like the Bible and man-made structure of religion and worship in a church. But I'm very spiritual. Like I definitely believe in a creator, whether you call it God or something else. Like definitely there is a creator. And I will just, based upon my own experience, I feel way more connected to the creator, we'll call it God, when I'm on a mountain than anywhere else in my life.
Yeah.
And it's almost like after that hunt is like a very cleansing experience. So, I guess a lot of people said the mountain's their church, but and man, when you're on a hunt, and I don't care how good of a hunter you are, things need to happen perfectly for you to harvest that animal. And there's so many things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
I really believe that like when I harvest an animal, it's because the universe, I call it the universe or the creator, had allowed that bounty to be harvested for me. I would not have been able to do it alone. There's something there that spiritually that happens for me. And so when I take an animal's life, it's a very spiritual thing for me. And I really respect that animal. And I always try to eat everything I kill. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes that's, I was on a grizzly bear hunt in Alaska, and that's just something you don't do. You don't eat the grizzly bear. So I didn't in that case, but I really try to eat the animal. It's a very spiritual thing for me. And like I had mentioned earlier, by me taking that animal back and feeding my family and feeding myself, I believe that animal becomes part of me, not necessarily the animal's soul, but for sure that physical animal becomes part of who I am in my body, right? So, all right, man, that's kind of my heady spiritual where I sit with
I
them.
love it. And that's a main point of why we made this podcast was, for one, to talk about Oregon outdoorsmanship, because, not too much going on there as far as hunting media. But also really is to explore that spiritual connection to the life in the outdoors. And that's one of the things that we talk about all the time, is that outdoorsmen have a very special spiritual perspective and a connection to God that people who don't spend their life outdoors, they don't have that blessing, that benefit of, I believe that we were created like what you said. You're talking about creator, whether or not you meant it that way or however, but I do believe that we were created with intention. And I believe that the only reason we can sense that God exists is because he wants us to sense it. He wants us to know that he exists. He wants us to know that he's out there. And that it's such a beautiful gift that we as outdoorsmen get to experience that other people don't. And it's part of the reason why I'm like happy to take anyone with me who wants to go out in the woods or out hunting. Like that's a big reason why we do the club, is because we get connected with these individuals that we get to take out into the woods, and they get to experience God in that way, in a way that they wouldn't have gotten to experience if they wouldn't have done it. And even if you don't kill something, because there's a huge part of it spiritually, like what you're talking about, where we are creatures on this earth that was created as a habitat for us, and it created as a habitat for these animals who are part of that creation. And how, like you're saying, we're physically made out of the same ingredients as those animals. And when we consume them, like we're taking them into our own selves physically, like what you're saying. But then there's also this part of, if you don't even kill something, we're just kind of in the natural space and the way that things were originally intended to be. And I have yet to meet an outdoorsman through this podcast or even just in general who has spent any amount of time out there who says there is nothing more than what you can see or what you can feel. Every outdoorsman has a spiritual perspective, even if it's like what you're sharing, where, you're not at a place where, for me as a Christ follower, it's very easy for me to use the language, right, that I use in my context. And you're using a different language in a different context, but we're talking about the fact that when we spend our life in the outdoors, there is a God, and he has allowed himself to be sensed in this way, and it's way, way easier to know he's out there when you've removed the distractions of daily life and you're in the natural, beautiful creation. Like it's just undeniable. There's something more to this life than just the life that we live daily in our houses, So I really do appreciate your perspective and hearing you. Thanks for being willing to share that. I know sometimes it's more personal than we like to get into, but I do appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For sure. Absolutely, man. You hit it nail on the head. And I'll share that with anybody that asks. I don't just divulge it to everybody because it still feels a little crazy to me, but like it's what I believe.
Yeah, man.
It's a humbling feeling when you're out there on the top of a mountain. You feel so tiny, and knowing that there is a God who created what's before you and then created you to subdue what you're looking at, to use the biblical language, right? And it is so amazing. It is so unimaginably breathtaking. And like you said, Brian, if you don't spend your time out in the woods, you just don't know.
Yeah. And like for me, in my perspective and what I believe about God is I'm like overwhelmed with love at it. Like I don't feel like terrified of this God that I'm sensing. I don't feel like he's bad or evil. I get the sense of like he's good.
Yeah.
He's beautiful. He, like he makes beauty. He perpetuates beauty. He wants beauty in his creation, and what he created is good. And so I think that that's kind of important to point out too, because like why would that be? Like in the sense of, if God could be anything, the universe could be any kind of force. Like the universe in itself is kind of scary because it's expanseless, right? Or what am I trying to say? Expansive. it's huge. It's powerful beyond what we could imagine. These forces of nature, and we learn about the sun and just the immense power and how like everyone talks about it's going to explode someday in millions of years. It's kind of the joke that it's like a scary thing, even though it's millions of years away. We'll never even experience that. But it's like, it's so interesting to me that we sense a comforting presence. We sense like a purposeful, like this is where we're supposed to be. This is good, rather than like a terrifying something evil or something scary. Even when we are like death is a part of hunting. We're taking the life of an animal. And so it maybe to the animal we're terrifying. To us, terror and fear isn't a part of it. Instead it's beauty and purposefulness. And to take that further, just to share like my heart behind it, like I believe that God that we sense out there is the same God who created me, saw me, loved me, and saw me on a bad path, and then created a pathway forward for me to be connected with him in the most healthy way possible, in the most true way possible. And I believe that that's through what he did on the cross, through his son, Jesus Christ, dying for us. And maybe that's part of the reason why I could almost get emotional when I'm talking about my spiritual connection to the outdoors and talking about this God that we sense, and how I sense love, I sense peace, I sense purpose, I sense goodness. And when I get glimpses of that God in the mountains, and maybe that's why I have that perspective, is because of what I believe about who Jesus is and what he did for us.
Yeah.
You know?
100% agree.
Yeah. So, different perspective there from what you're sharing, Kurt, but
for sure. But I think it still aligns, right? Like you're saying, it's just language. Like what you guys are saying and what I'm saying is very similar on the foundation of things.
Yep.
And just different language for sure. Yeah.
We all start in the same spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I've brought this up before, and I think you're going to laugh at me, Bryant. But if you've seen the movie Rango.
Oh, he brings this up all the time.
I bring this up all the time. Yeah.
Finish your thought. Then we're done.
It's if you've seen the movie Rango, in the beginning when he gets dropped out of his little fish tank or whatever he's in, and he meets the armadillo and he hears about the spirit of the West, right? And it goes perfectly with Western TV, right? So it's the spirit of the West that we all feel. And we have not met another hunter who does not share the spirit of the West, and whatever that may be to them, right?
And whether you're obsessed with the West.
Exactly.
Oh, wait, is that too on the nose? Western obsession?
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Man. Well, Kurt,
very good.
Man, thanks so much for this conversation. I've really loved it. Learned a lot from you in just this, little bit that we've been talking, and hopefully, we'll get some more chances to do stuff together in the future. But I'd like to give you the opportunity to tell our listeners, send them somewhere. Where can they see your videos? Where can they learn more about you and what you're doing, and keep track of all that, especially with your moose hunt coming up?
Yeah, so my major platform is YouTube. I try to put most of my stuff out on that. But if you want to see more of my episodes, it'll be on YouTube. And just a heads up, like I don't polish things. How it happens, it happens. So there's a lot of plenty of times I'm missing animals and doing some dumb stuff. So you'll get to see that. And then if you want to see my day-to-day stuff, that'd be like more Instagram and Facebook on what I do day-to-day. So
awesome.
Yeah, just search Western Obsessions TV.
Western Obsessions TV.
Go check it out, folks.
All right. Well, that does it for today's episode. Thanks again, Kurt, for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm Bryant.
Age.
And I'm Kurt. Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
All right. That does it.
Cool.